Hello and a very warm welcome to this special presentation of Rajya Sabha television from the Parliament House complex. Since COVID-19 became pandemic more than 4 months ago, our daily lives have little resemblance to our former routines. Countries across the globe are struggling to contain the transmission of this disease. And in this edition, we'll tell you how Rajya Sabha Chairman Venkaiah Naidu is motivating the country to fight against coronavirus and, more importantly, to fight the prejudice against the patients of coronavirus, and also how Rajya Sabha secretariat is navigating through this new normal and paving the way for the 252nd session of Rajya Sabha. Come along with me on this journey.
माननीय सभासदों, माननीय सभापति जी,
Secretary General, oath or affirmation.
Vice President of India and Chairman of Rajya Sabha Venkaiah Naidu has highlighted the need to adopt new ways of living in times of this coronavirus disease. And said that humankind holds the key to roll back the pandemic outbreak. Chairman Naidu has stressed on the need for new attitudes towards life and humanity amid indications of the virus likely to stay for longer than earlier expected. He expressed anguish over instances of stigmatizing of COVID-19 patients and denial of dignified last rites to people who died due to the virus. He suggested the steps for living with a new normal even after all the corona-induced restrictions are lifted. He suggested a 12-point new normal of living during the corona times. Beware that life is precious and to be lived meaningfully in harmony with the nature and fellow beings. Know that what affects one person anywhere affects everyone everywhere, be it the disease or economy. Realize that your life depends on that of the other and vice versa, and that the lives are interconnected. Rationally analyze the impact on the spread of virus before undertaking every movement or action. Know that every challenge has a solution, and it would come as soon as possible given the global efforts that are on. Don't respond impulsively to the uncertainty and be guided by rationality, keeping faith in science and technology. Adopt to the situation with confidence instead of panicking. Stay put with behavioral changes ushered in during the lockdown, so far by wearing masks, maintaining physical distance and ensuring hygiene. Change old habits of thinking and working by acquiring new ones to meet the demands of time, besides thinking positively and exercising regularly along with yoga and meditation. Prevent stigmatization so that infected volunteer for treatment. Check disinformation and prejudices against fellow citizens, labeling them as carriers of the virus. All forms of media should disseminate correct and scientific information instead of presenting the disease as a catastrophe. Let the sense of collective helplessness be replaced by the spirit of the virtue of living interconnected with shared destiny.
I urge all of you to reach out to people, asking them to exercise caution about coronavirus without panicking by maintaining sanitation and other measures as is being advised by the government and the World Health Organization. Members, in particular, shall also be careful while meeting and greeting people, especially while dealing with people who have recently traveled in and out of the country, including foreigners. Now that the WHO has declared COVID-19 a pandemic, our country needs to take lead in containing the spread of coronavirus, and it is the collective responsibility of all of us.
A reflection of these suggestions we saw in the secretariat of the upper house. The Rajya Sabha secretariat resumed its functioning on the 27th day of the nationwide lockdown on April 20th, amid safeguards against COVID-19. Sanitization of all vehicles entering the Parliament House complex, including the NXA, temperature screening of all employees, and checking number of incumbents in each vehicle were among the safeguards undertaken on the first day of resumption of work. All officials and staff attended office wearing masks, and many even wore gloves. They stood in earmarked circles waiting for lifts to maintain social distancing. Rajya Sabha Secretary General Deshdeepak Verma firmed up the agenda of the work for the lockdown period. The deployment plan was drawn up by the concerned divisional heads. But the remarkable development was the oath-taking ceremony. For the first time ever, oath was administered in the chamber of the Rajya Sabha during the intersession period. Chairman Venkaiah Naidu decided to this effect because of resumption of department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee meetings. Subscribing to oath or affirmation is usually done either during the session or in the chamber of the Chairman of Rajya Sabha if the House is not in session. Rajya Sabha Chairman Venkaiah Naidu decided to this effect, keeping in view resumption of meetings by the department-related Parliamentary Standing Committees of both the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, and keen interest expressed by the new members to participate in such meetings. Some newly elected or re-elected members of Rajya Sabha, like Dr. K. Keshav Rao and Tiruchi Siva, were among chairmen of parliamentary committees who, without being administered oath or affirmation, cannot convene the meetings of respective committees. Newly elected members also cannot participate in the committee meetings without making or subscribing to oaths or affirmation. In view of the recent election of 61 members from 20 states to the Rajya Sabha and the requirement of social distancing, the oaths or affirmation was administered by the chairman in the chamber of the upper house.
My Ayodhya Ram Reddy Allah.
Of the 61 members elected to Rajya Sabha, 45 made oaths or affirmation on July 22nd. Rajya Sabha Chairman Venkaiah Naidu administered oath to the newly elected or re-elected members. Chairman noted that the newly elected include some veterans and a good number of first-timers.
Member of the Council of States, do solemnly affirm that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India.
Chairman Naidu stated that his plans to administer oath or affirmation had to be put on hold earlier due to corona-induced travel restrictions. And even few newly elected members had expressed reservation or concern over travelling long distances, even after these restrictions were relaxed.
सभी सम्मानीय निर्वाचित, नवनिर्वाचित, पुनर्निर्वाचित सदस्य.
In his remarks at the end of the administration of oaths or affirmation to the new members of Rajya Sabha in the chamber of the House, Chairman Naidu urged the members to hold themselves to account with regard to their conduct both within and outside the House, so as to enhance the standing of this institution in the eyes of the people. He suggested members to question themselves if they had acted to enhance the dignity of the institution or to the contrary at the end of each day during the session, and if their conduct was ethical during the intersession period.
Ensuing rule of law is the spirit of our law of the land. It shall begin with your compliance with the rules and procedure of this House. One talisman that I would like to suggest to you is, when the House is in session, at the end of each sitting and before you take to sleep, just ask one question to yourself, that being, if you have furthered the cause of this institution or acted to the contrary. When the House is not in session, at the end of the day, ask yourself if you have acted as per the norms of the right conduct expected of a member of the Parliament. Answer to these simple questions would guide you on the right path.
Chairman also urged the members not to disrupt the proceedings of the House.
You have been chosen as the lawmakers of the nation. While doing so, you should ensure that your conduct in the House is in conformity with the rules and procedure of this House, and your conduct outside is in line with ethic norms. Don't fall prey to the temptation of disrupting the proceedings of the House for short-term gains, and instead be conscious of your noble responsibility towards enhancing the standing of the apex legislature in public esteem. Ensuring rule of law is the spirit of our law of the land. It shall begin with your compliance with the rules and procedure of this House.
Chairman stated that his plan to administer oaths or affirmation earlier had to be put on hold on account of corona-induced travel restrictions, and quite a few newly elected expressed concerns over travelling long distances for oath-taking even after they were relaxed. Noting that parliamentary committees have resumed meetings, Chairman Naidu said, oath-taking has been accordingly planned to enable participation of newly elected in the committee meetings right away and in the monsoon session to follow. New members are required to take oath or affirmation before participating in the proceedings of the committees and the Parliament as per the provisions of the Constitution.
I have thought of enabling you, all of you, to make oath or affirmation much earlier. But as you are all aware, we have been passing through difficult times due to coronavirus outbreak and the attendant restrictions on travel and the requirement of physical distancing, etc. Quite a few of the newly elected members have expressed concern over traveling long distance for oath-taking, even though restrictions on domestic travel were lifted in May and trail travel was also allowed to a certain extent. For the same reasons, meetings of the parliamentary committees also could not take place till the end of June, and the committees have started meeting in the recent past. Accordingly, today's oath-taking has been organized to enable the newly elected members to participate in the committee's meetings, which are underway at once, and in the monsoon session which is to follow. I hope to nominate all of you in different committees in a day or two.
Chairman also observed that Rajya Sabha has completed 68 years of journey in May this year as a constructive partner in lawmaking by the apex legislature for the country, despite the provision to differ with the stand taken by the Lok Sabha on legislative proposals. Chairman referred to the concerted efforts being made by the central and the state governments and other stakeholders, including frontline warriors like doctors, medical staff, security forces, media, to contain the pandemic, and expressed hope that normal life would be restored soon. Chairman Naidu also suggested to the first-time members of Rajya Sabha to enhance their knowledge about the history and contribution of the House during the last 68 years, the objectives and the cause of freedom struggle, making of the Constitution, and functioning of parliamentary institutions by reading standard books. He urged the seniors to guide the first-timers in understanding the functioning of the House. Elaborate arrangements were made by the Rajya Sabha secretariat, keeping in view the COVID-19 induced social distancing norms. Register was kept, separate pens were kept. In fact, Chairman also advised the members to take the pen with them to avoid any possibility of spreading the infection. Only one family member or guest was allowed to accompany each member for witnessing oath-taking, and they were accommodated in the galleries of Rajya Sabha as per the social distancing norms. The Rajya Sabha gallery accommodates 67 members as per the social distancing norm. Separate arrangements for media professionals were also made. Separate help desk was set up with counters of notice office, table office, members allowance. A counter was also set up for rapid antigen test of the members.
Every bit of the social distancing norms were followed, very strictly followed. We in fact gave up on some of the ceremonial parts, but without compromising the decorum and without compromising the sanctity of an oath taking ceremony. So, there were some differences which people must have noticed, like one was that the members, of course, the members were sitting, they were allotted seats because of the social distancing norms. So, they were given seats in the house, and when the names were announced, they had to come to a podium, and from there they had to take the oath to a mic, and then they had to come to a podium to sign the register. And for the first time, we requested them to bring their own pen, even though we had some pen in reserve, but we requested them to carry their pen so that they can sign without being in contact with anyone, even through those pens. And even the pen that we had kept in reserve, we had also kept the sanitizer there. So, if a member signed, we had requested, in fact, the chairman made a request from the podium that you should sign and carry your pen as it is also as a memorial that this is the pen with which you have signed the membership. But some of them forgot, so they put it there. So, there was arrangement immediately to get it sanitized, and there was some person to change the pages also for them, so that there is no iota of any contact and there is no possibility of any spread of the disease or anybody getting in touch with other.
The Rajya Sabha Secretariat also issued an elaborate protocol for the meetings of the 8 department-related parliamentary standing committees of Rajya Sabha. Committees are the backbone of the parliamentary system of democracy. A great deal of business of parliament gets transacted through them. The Rajya Sabha Secretariat listed out measures to ensure conformity with social distancing norms. It came few days ahead of the meeting of the Committee on Science and Technology and Environment and Forests on 10th of July and the meeting of the Committee on Home Affairs on 15th of July. The protocol requires members to be seated at a distance of 6 feet with appropriate arrangements to accommodate maximum participation. Only 2 witnesses from the ministry or department appearing before the committee for evidence will be allowed at a time. More witnesses would be examined by turns. There is no restriction on the number of witnesses to be examined. Material related to the meetings will be supplied to members as soft copies. Reporters will be accommodated in the well of the committee rooms for taking verbatim note of the proceedings of the committees. Attendance of members as required under law will be marked outside the committee room. Participation of officials related to the committees will be restricted. Participation of members in meetings will be ascertained in advance to ensure necessary logistics, and hand sanitizers, disposable masks and gloves for the members, witnesses, officers and staff of the Secretariat will be ensured at the entrance of the committee rooms. Senior officials of the Rajya Sabha Secretariat discussed the protocol on May 28th, anticipating that some committees will meet after restrictions on domestic air travel were removed on May 25th. COVID-19 pandemic also propelled the use of new digital technologies. Fintech, PropTech, EduTech, Agritech became common in the conduct of day-to-day businesses. COVID-19 pandemic also unraveled a new digital paradigm for the Rajya Sabha Secretariat as well, focusing on communication, coherence, connectivity, commitment and creativity. Since January of 2020, the world has been watching the unfolding of COVID-19 pandemic. Most of us have felt a strong sense of disruption in our work and social lives. The fact is that due to the disruption caused by COVID-19, we have already experienced more digital transformation in the last couple of months than we have seen in the last several years. The meetings through video conferencing became more efficient. New combinations of talent and technology are delivering decisive advances and operational efficiency. Digital transformation is driving positive outcomes, whether it's streamlining processes, harnessing data, or shaping entirely new ways. The Rajya Sabha Secretariat is ready for the new normal.
In this process, both officers, including myself and the staff, have actually learned the skill of working through the video conferencing. How to work digitally, that is an learning of this COVID-19 days. So, everything has a silver lining. So, that was the experience, and that is the knowledge which has been acquired. And now we are able to actually work digitally. In fact, many times I will come to my office and probably, except my personal staff, not meet anyone, but we are disposing of several files. And I must tell you this, that several of very important decisions have also been taken during this COVID times, simply because we had very quality time with us and we could concentrate on several subjects, and we have been, with the help of all the officers in the secretariat, we have been able to take some very, very important and crucial decisions. So, this has been a learning and experience of this difficult times.
According to constitutional provisions, the gap between two sessions of Parliament cannot exceed 6 months. So, the last session of Parliament ended in March, and now stage is being set for the ensuing monsoon session of Parliament. Both the presiding officers have inspected the chambers and galleries of both the houses to take stock of seating capacity as per physical distancing norm. The visit was followed by a detailed discussion on using the chambers of both houses for conducting the proceedings of each of the two houses. The proposal considered was that members of Lok Sabha would be seated in the chambers of both the houses while Lok Sabha is in session, and so is the case with Rajya Sabha, whose members would sit in the chambers of both the houses. Members of each of the two houses who can't be accommodated in the chambers and galleries of respective house would be seated in the chamber and galleries of the other house. Various logistical and technical issues were identified that need to be addressed if this option were to be exercised. These include enabling participation of the members of the house seated in the other house through necessary audio-visual connectivity with and display in the other house, audio facilities for members seated in galleries, simultaneous interpretation, taking vote if required, enabling live telecast of proceedings of each house, arrangements for media persons as well. Secretaries General of both the houses have been asked to examine each and every issue to the last minute detail for taking a final decision in respect of this new option after its evaluation against the options under consideration. It's an unparalleled global response to a disease. In this fight against coronavirus pandemic, Parliament of India is all geared up. Well, that's all I had for you in this edition of Rajya Sabha Television. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.